Number 1. Aaron. When I was about 11 and 12 years old, I had a very hard time in school. I went to Shelton Park Elementary School, which was close to the Norfolk Naval Base, and because of this I went to school with a bunch of other Navy brats. My parents had just recently got divorced. I was very depressed at the time, so I quit doing my homework. My teachers, who I will never forget, were unbelievably cruel to me. Though I was suffering deeply in depression, they would often put me up in front of the class and ridicule me. Often, I wished now that I could find them right now, and let them know the pain and agony they had caused me during a difficult time in my life. For example, I was trying to learn to play the trumpet. I wasn't good at it at all. My dad never let me practice at home, so I couldn't get good. One of the teachers made me get up in front of class and try to play the trumpet because he knew that I couldn't. He just wanted to humiliate me. But there was a bigger problem. There was a guy named Aaron who was a horrible bully. The strangest thing is that he was bullied himself. So he decided to take his anger out on me all the time. I was tiny and he was huge. And this man brought so much terror into my life. I did my best to avoid him as much as possible. One day I was out by myself on one of the playgrounds in the Navy housing. I was on a wooden jungle gym. I was scared when I noticed Aaron was coming toward me. I wanted to run, but I wasn't sure what to do. I tried to find a way out the jungle gym, but every time I tried to do it, he would block me. There was no way I was getting away from him. Aaron got up on the jungle gym. I tried to get over to the fire pole and slide down, but before I could, he got a hold on me. I tried punching Aaron, doing anything to get me away from him. But my punches had no effect. He put me in some sort of sleeper hold and I wasn't able to breathe. I then began panicking because I felt this sociopathic asshole was trying to kill me. My struggling didn't help, and right before I passed out, Aaron pushed me forward. My head hit the metal fireman pole and ricocheted back to the wooden jungle gym, and then I hit the pole again as I fell to the ground. My body felt fuzzy and I knew that I was bleeding. The only good thing I could think of is that Aaron didn't do anything worse to me after that. He left me in a bloody and painful mess in the dirt, under the jungle gym. I don't know how long I lay there in pain, but yes, I was laying there in pain. It was terrible. When I eventually got up, I slowly began to walk home. It was weird. There were not other people out there. I walked all the way home. My dad wouldn't take me to the hospital, and that was typical of him. He was the chief petty officer and our health insurance was free, but he wouldn't take me to the hospital. There was a happy ending to the story, though. My older brother was a behemoth. We lived next door to a Filipino family whose oldest brother was my brother's best friend, and he was big and tough. They had a sister who was a badass tomboy. She would do push-ups on her knuckles on asphalt. All three of them went to Aaron's house. The Filipino guy and his sister held Aaron down, and my brother performed some wrestling moves on him. I wish I could tell you that the beating he got made him stop picking on me. Well, actually it did. He went to the hospital, but not because of what happened with my brother. He got the crap beat out of him by another bully in school, and was gone for several weeks. He actually befriended me when he got back, and it was weird. He began defending me against other bullies, and claimed I was the only friend he had. And it was weird. It was a long time ago, and I don't really recall much after that. But it was one of the scariest moments of my life that led to something. Number 2. Humiliation. This story is much more about humiliation than it is about fear. But I was scared when it happened, so I thought I would share it. And maybe, if I do, people who may consider doing what was done to me might never do it. When I was 11 years old, I had to spend a summer with a different family. It's hard to explain why, but my dad was committed to a psychiatric ward, and I was staying with this family who also took care of other kids. It is embarrassing to admit this, but even at 11, I tended to have some accidents in my underwear. And it was a serious problem. When I was at this house, I had one of my accidents. Well, the babysitter named Molly was very pissed at me. She yelled and screamed, and she made me get in the tub and scrub myself clean. Now comes the worst part. When I was taken out of the tub, I was dried off but not given any clothing. I was taken to a room with all the other kids, all younger than me except for one, were watching. Lying on the floor with a diaper. I was told if I was going to have accidents, I would have to be put in diapers, and then she diapered me right in front of everyone. I was not allowed to put clothes on over the diaper. In fact, since I was a small guy, she was able to put me in the playpen. I have heard that people write stories about this sort of humiliation like it's a good thing, but it was the worst experience of my life. I spent 3 months in diapers, always changed in front of the other children. I didn't have to use them, they were just to protect me from accidents. But they mocked me when I was in the playpen. They laughed at me for being in diapers. When people came over to the house, adults, they would see me in the playpen and they would laugh at me. I was sitting there, once in a pink diaper after I had an accident in the diaper. I wasn't forced to use them, as I said, but the accident still happened. I once tried to take the diaper off because I just couldn't take it anymore. Molly grabbed a fly swatter and beat the hell out of me with it. And then she decided to humiliate me more by taking me for a walk down the street, wearing nothing but the diaper. When the summer was over, I was allowed back in normal clothes. I should have told my dad what happened, but I was so humiliated that I couldn't. I was abused mentally and physically by this woman, who was paid by the government to watch over me. It took me a long time to get over it. And all I can tell you is it was just horrible. I was terrified that my dad would go back to the hospital, and they would send me back there. Fortunately, it never happened. Number 3. Store Run. What's up? My name is Thomas. I'm 33 years old. I'm a black man that lives in Baltimore City, better known as B-More or Bodymore in the urban area, where it's dangerous, but when you live your whole life somewhere, you intend to adapt to your area. When I was 28 years old, I got robbed at gunpoint by 2 men. One day I was walking to my homeboy's house at 10 o'clock at night to buy some weed. His house was like 15 minutes away, and on the way back I went to the store because I had my cousin independence card. I was definitely going to buy some munchies for after I smoke. Food stamps came out, lol. But on the way back home, I seen a white car right past me and pulled on a side street a block away from me. And mind you, I have earphones on, but I didn't have nothing playing, so in case anybody try anything, I can still hear them. And when I got to the block where the car was, a black guy hopped out of the car and tried to catch up with the pace I was walking. And when I seen what he was doing, I heard him say something. I then took out the earbuds out of my ear and said, "What the fuck you say?" And he said to me, "Kick that shit out, don't play with me." That's when I seen a silver gun he was clutching in his coat. I had a bag of junk food in my hand and a bag of weed in my shoe. He said, "Where's the money?" And I said, "I don't have no money. I just got a bag of weed." That's when another black guy hopped out of the car, and he had a gun in his hand too. And he went to the right side of me. The other guy was on the left of me. I took my shoe off and I threw the bag of weed on the ground and said, "That's all I got." He said, "Put your shoe back on," looking around nervously. In my head I was like, they're just not going to kill me, right? Here I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. So the guy on the left said, "Yo, if you don't pull $1 out of your pocket, I'ma shoot you." I pulled my pants up a little more because I was preparing to run, and before I could say anything, I sprinted up the street, heading to my house in the direction I was already walking in. It was like 3 minutes away, and while I'm running past people on the sidewalk. They looked crazy because I think they saw the whole robbery, and when I got 2 blocks from my house, I ran through a parking lot and headed by a gate that had a lot of high bushes and trees, and I caught my breath because I couldn't run no more. But I didn't stay long because I was still scared, and I didn't know they were chasing me. So I got the hell up and jogged the rest of the way out to my house, and when I got to the house I was out of breath. I sat down and told my 8-year-old little cousin, "You remember when I was telling you how dangerous it is to go out at 10 o'clock at night?" I was telling him earlier that day about another time I got robbed and how dangerous it is to be out at night in Baltimore City. Number 4. Terrifying Story. Hello, Killer Orange Cat. My name is Mona S., and I have a truly terrifying story for you. One day when I was around 12 years old, I was staying home alone. I I was an only child and both my parents had to work. I was watching a show on TV and it was about 10 p.m. at night. My parents would not be home for another hour or two. I was just watching my show and I got hungry, so I went into the kitchen. I was about to get some chips when I heard a loud knocking sound in my mom's office. Slowing, I walked in there, and I saw a tall man knocking at my door. It was hard to see his features because it was so dark, but I could make out two things: a long knife in his hands, and his very unnerving smile. I ran into my parents' bedroom and hid in their closet. I was just trying desperately not to make a sound. In hindsight, I should have just called the police, but I did not have a mobile phone yet, and the only phone we had was in the kitchen. So I just tried to be silent and not move around too much. About 15 minutes later, I heard the unmistakable sound of glass shattering. I knew that he was in the house. I started to cry as I heard him come closer to my parents' room. But by some stroke of good luck, my next-door neighbor must have heard the glass shatter, and he must have showed up with his rifle, because I heard a loud gunshot. About 10 minutes later, the police and my parents came, so I slowly came out of the closet, and my neighbor explained what happened to him. He had fired a warning shot, and the guy got spooked and ran out of my house. The police caught up with him a few days later, though. It turned out that he was breaking into houses all over my neighborhood, and had even killed another girl staying home alone. I felt so lucky that my neighbor heard the glass shatter and came to my house, or who knows what could have happened. I'm in college now, but I still get spooked whenever my roommates are gone, and the wind blowing through the grass sounds like fingers trying to break through glass. Number 5. For a little background, I've had the ability to see ghosts, ever since I could remember. Therefore I don't really mind their presences anymore, but this was my first and worst encounter with the paranormal. On this day I'd been playing outside of my grandmother's house, as my mother and father were working as usual. I was playing in the dirt when, all of a sudden, I heard my grandmother calling me. She sounded absolutely hysterical, as if something horrible had happened, so of course I ran into the house as fast as I could, and upon entering the kitchen I saw it. A child about my age, at the time was 4 or 5 years old. He was covered in what looked like blood and dirt. I instantly became covered in absolute dread, and that's when I realized it wasn't my grandmother screaming my name. It was this boy mimicking her. I just remember going into a trance, which I no longer remember, but when I woke up, I found myself in my grandmother's arms, crying so hard, I felt my head would explode. My grandmother died soon after. I refused to play in the backyard after that. I am currently 16 years old, and I still refuse to go back there, in fear of what I may find. I'm still convinced to this day that it had something to do with it. If anyone knows if it is possible for it to be somehow related, please let me know. Hey y'all, Killer Orange Cat here. First, the obligatory apology for being quiet for so long. You know I don't really like to go more than a week without a video. I've been working on finding new stories, and it's been a little difficult at the moment. However, in this time period that I've been doing this, I have found quite a bit of stories, so look forward to that coming up. In the meantime, if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please feel free to hit the subscribe and the bell button to be notified when there's new videos. Leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of the video, or share it with someone you think might enjoy it. If you have an original story that you'd like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please email it to the address included in the description. In the meantime, as always, don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.